This is the Elgato Wave mic. When people ask me my #1 recommendation for USB mics for streamers, this is my #1, and it's not even close. Not because the mic itself is anything special, because really it's not, it's good, but it's because Elgato also built software that comes with this that allows you to control the volume of all different sources separately. Things like your mic volume, your teammate volume, your game volume, your music volume, and they let you control it right from your Stream Deck super easily. Elgato released this mic more than 10 months ago, and still not a single company has tried to compete with it. Until now. I'm gonna break this desk. This is the Rode NT USB Mini. It's not a new mic. It's been out for about a year now, and there are a bajillion videos on it. However, last week, Rode released free software that looks very similar to the Elgato WaveLink software. It's even got some features that Elgato is missing. It's also missing some features that Elgato has. So, let's see if the Rode NT USB mic has finally dethroned the Elgato. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, someone we haven't talked about in a little bit. I'm sure you all miss Owned.tv, your one-stop shop for all your stream aesthetic needs. Whether it be overlays, alerts, profile pictures, anything you need, Owned has you covered. Plus, one of my favorite things about them is that they are all modular, so if you and all your friends go out and buy the Alpha Gaming design that you're looking at here, which by the way, we made together. I think it looks really great. None of you will have the exact same overlay because you can all pick and choose the different pieces of the overlay that you'd like. So if you'd like to make the smart move like many from the community have already done, feel free to jump over to own.tv, link in the description below, which by the way, if you use that link, it actually supports the channel. So thank you. And if you'd like to save 40, 50%, they keep changing it on me. Either 40 or 50% at checkout, use code alpha. All right, first things first, after you hit the like button, because of course that helps us out in the algorithm, gets this video seen. But after that, first things first, this is not a mic test. This mic has a bajillion tests all over YouTube. Just Google it, you'll find it. But this is an old mic. I wanna get down to the software, and most importantly, see how it compares with the standard of mic software that Elgato has set. I will, real quick, however, give you a side-by-side test of the audio from each mic, just so you can see the quality of each one. I bet you thought I was gonna use this sound test as a shameless plug for StreamBeats. You probably thought I was gonna tell you all about the 1,000 tracks and 10 different genres of DMCA-safe music for your live streams and YouTube videos. It's available on all your favorite streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and you can even download the tracks for free right from streambeats.com. Links in the description below. Quality is not something you generally have to worry about with Rode. They make high quality microphones and they have for a while. In fact, this shotgun microphone that we use in every single one of our videos is a Rode mic. Let's get into the important thing I want to talk about today, the software. And let's start with a refresher on the Elgato real quick. The Elgato Wave app is a super simple app. It does very few things, but it does those few things very well. You can see I've got all my sources lined up here. I can send all the sound out to both my headphones and out to my stream, which by the way is on youtube.com/HarrisEller. If you didn't know, I left Twitch last week and I stream on YouTube now, linked to my personal channel down below. I can even individually mute any source I want from the broadcast or my headphones individually. So for example, if I'm playing a game where hearing footsteps is super important, I can mute StreamBeats from my own headphones so I can hear things, but I can keep it playing in the background for my stream so all my viewers can still hear those bangers. And being able to control the headphones and the broadcast stream separately goes into a larger feature called submixes, which means I can also adjust the volume of any source separately depending on whether it goes to the headphones or the broadcast mix. So for example, maybe I want to hear my teammates quieter while I'm playing a game while I still want them to be normal volume for my teammates. I can set that volume difference and then I can lock that offset so when I move the fader, it moves them both at the same time. You're welcome, by the way. Offset lock was my idea. I gave it to Elgato at CES 2020 in a secret back room. And lastly, all of these functions can be controlled with a Stream Deck. Mute buttons, moving the fader a certain interval, and probably my favorite, moving the fader to a certain position so you can have presets. It's great software. I would say the biggest thing it's missing are built-in voice effects. The ability to add the necessary vocal plugins, things like EQ, noise gate, compressor, right in the app. You can do it for free with Reaper plugins. We even have a whole video on how to do that. I'll put a link to that in the top left corner, top right corner. It's just a little complicated compared to how easy everything else with this microphone is. But that's basically the Elgato Wave software. Let's take a look at Rode Connect, the software they just released for this last week. I spent a good chunk of time hanging out with the software this week, and there are a few standout features that make it very clear who this software was designed for. And by the way, if you're familiar with Rode, you probably already know the answer to that. The very first thing you do when you open up the software is add your mic to it. And you can actually add up to 4 microphones. They even sell colored labels and markers that go on your microphone and even your USB cable so you don't get confused about which one is which in the software. Which, by the way, I think is brilliant. It's so easy to forget who is speaking into microphone number 3, and to have to fumble around with that halfway through a broadcast can totally destroy your content. And then right next to the microphones, you have 2 extra tracks, system and virtual, which I was a little bit confused by the name at first, but after some digging, they're basically the same thing, just 2 different digital outputs. Your computer by default automatically sends to the system output, and then you have this second virtual output that you can assign anything to. So for example, if you're in a Discord call on your stream and you want to send your Discord to a separate output, so you have its own individual fader, or maybe you have music playing that you want to be able to control separately, you can send that one to virtual. But let's talk about the 2 things in the software that the Elgato Wave software doesn't have. First of all, you'll notice there is a record button here. So I can record anything coming through here directly in the app. And as it's recording, I can add markers with this little flag button. So if something of note or something I need to edit happens during the stream, I can easily go back and find it. And then with this little tab right here, we can actually check out our recordings, play them back, and jump to the markers that we placed while we were recording it. And this is really cool. If you go into the preferences, you can set it to record in multi-track. So when you export a recording, it gives you all the tracks separately for more editing control. That is really cool. The other thing this software has that Elgato is missing is if you click on the number above the track, look at that. You have voice effects. They're very simple. You have a noise gate, you have compression, and then you have 2 EQ options, a high-end boost and a low-end boost. The noise gate and compression work automatically, so there's no extra settings you have to touch, and they're both fine. I took a very close listen to the EQ yesterday. Let me give you an example of what this sounds like. Future Hair is here. I'm just watching back an edit of the microphone test that I'm about to show you, and there are some really weird volume fluctuations. We're not 100% sure if it's because there's something wrong with the noise gate built into the app, or if there's just a bug in the app itself. This is a really early build. The app just came out. There might be some bugs. So keep that in mind. Weird volume stuff going on here. Also notice that there weren't any volume issues during the Stream Beats bit at the very beginning. That's because we recorded into a completely different recording software. It only happened when we recorded into Rode Connect. So it's not the microphone, it's something with the software. Anyway, back to the video. Now, just so you can hear the difference, let me talk into this microphone, and then we're going to turn on the high boost, which is called the exciter. I'm not sure if you can actually hear a difference at all. When I went and listened to it earlier, the only thing I really noticed was a little bit of a boost in the sibilants in my voice. The sibilants are like the S's and the T's, kind of the hissing sounds. I didn't notice much of a difference there. However, if I turn it back off and instead I turn on the big bottom, at least on the example that I watched before, I noticed a pretty big difference in presence. I liked it a lot. I liked the sound of it. But I also noticed that when you turn on the big bottom, it feels like you're missing a little bit of the high ends that you can bring back with the exciter. So in my opinion, from what I've heard, I didn't really like the exciter turned on its own, but when you have the big bottom turned on and then you also turn on the exciter, you get a little bit of those muddy mids scooped out, and you're just kind of left with a little bit of a presence boost on the low end and a clarity boost on the high end. I think it works out really well. But just so you can tell again, I've got both the exciter and the big bottom turned on. Now I have them turned off, and I'm going to talk like this for 1 second. And then I'm going to turn them back on. Do you hear a difference in that? By the way, you're not going to hear a difference unless you're wearing headphones. So if you weren't wearing headphones and you want to hear it, put them on, listen again. Anyway, okay, we can all agree that this software is really cool, right? Like, we're all on the same page. Awesome. Because now we need to talk about what's missing. And honestly, what's missing from the software isn't much, as long as you are the audience that this software was intended for. It's missing quite a few super important features for streamers. For example, streamers need more than 2 virtual inputs. They need to be able to control their game, their music, and their teammates separately. And submixes are a huge missing feature for streamers here. Every single time I game on stream, my viewers ask, how come your teammates are so quiet compared to the game? But in my headphones, my teammates are way louder than the game. I need to be able to turn down my teammates in my headphones and turn them up on the gameplay. And I hate that the GoXLR can't do that. Submixes are vital, and right now Elgato is the only one that has something like that. But probably the biggest thing missing from this is any support for keyboard shortcuts. There's not a chance that anytime I want to change the volume or mute something on stream, I want to grab a mouse over here and drag a teeny tiny fader down a little bit or click a teeny tiny little mute button, especially if I'm mid-game. It's not as big a deal if you're in like a podcast, for example, and your computer is already in front of you and you have the software right there and you can just click and drag the fader. I still feel like it should have hotkey support, but it's not a deal breaker for podcasts, which, by the way, is who I think this microphone and software is really for. I don't think Rode is trying to compete with Elgato to make the #1 streaming microphone. I think Rode wants to make the #1 podcasting microphone. And they did, by the way, with the 4 different color coding options, the multi-channel recording, and even baked in preset settings for different podcasting platforms, which I didn't show you earlier. This thing's awesome. And it's still a solid second place for streamers, by the way, considering no one else has even tried to make software like this. But in the end, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you just hate my face? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you think there's more to this conversation that I'm missing, feel free to jump into my YouTube stream. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Spend a lot of time in just chatting. Link to my personal YouTube channel in the description down below, or I'll put a link over, I think this side, right over here in a second. And as always, happy streaming.
Did you get gold?
I did, I'm gold! Oh,
Congratulations.
oh my gosh! I saw your shadow earlier.